Well, it's the issue that just will not go away. The politicians are determined to convince the people of America and the world that the climate is warming, that the snowcaps are going to melt, and that we're all going to drown unless we do something very dramatic and drastic about it. That's what we're facing. Of course, just yesterday, President Obama announced that he had reached a climate change agreement with China. The United States and China are the two biggest offenders as far as emitting gashouse emissions, carbon emissions into the air. Therefore, for a long time, people have theorized that if the emissions of the United States of America and China could be brought under control, it would go a long way toward bringing the carbon emissions of the world under control. Now, this article just appeared. I want you to hear it exactly like it is. White House and China set historic greenhouse emissions levels. And this just came out yesterday from Beijing on CNN. At the end of a trade summit in China, U.S. President Barack Obama announced a climate change agreement with Chinese President Xi Jinping that would cut both countries' greenhouse gas emissions by close to a third over the next 2 decades. Under this agreement, the United States would cut between 26 and 28% of the level of its carbon emissions set in 2005 by 2025. And China would do the same by 2030. The administration hopes the announcement by the two superpowers will spur other nations to do the same. The White House said the ultimate target is to achieve deep economy-wide reductions on the order of 80% by 2050. What an ambitious goal. A senior administration official calls the goals both ambitious and achievable, but also acknowledged that U.S. domestic politics would put a damper on the announcement, saying leading climate deniers in the GOP might try to stop the initiative. The official hinted the president may act alone if necessary. Now, let's pause just a minute here, because there are people, intelligent people, senators, congressmen, who do not believe that carbon emissions are causing global warming. Now, even though the scientists like to say, oh, everybody knows it's true, all scientists agree, except for these few wacky global warming deniers. That's what they try to say, but yet without proving it. Here's the bottom line. There is no global warming, and yet President Obama is determined to make this one of the hallmarks of his last 2 years. And notice that he's willing to act without the approval of Congress. He's going to do this sort of like a dictator would do. Now, will he get by with it? It depends on whether there's any strong leadership in Congress to stop him or not. He believes he has the mandate to do it. Okay, now what's going to happen here? This is not an official treaty. An official treaty would have to be approved by 2/3 of the Senate. He knows he can't get that. So he's simply going to create these policies and do them voluntarily. Now, if the next president that comes along decides not to follow these policies, then the whole thing could come unraveled. We're going to show you later on how we can know for certain that this theory of global warming and melting sea caps is simply not true. But before we go any farther, I want to hold things right where they are, because why do we care? This is a Bible program. This is a prophecy program. So why are we talking about the climate on politics and religion today? Well, because there are people in our world who are absolutely determined to lead the United States of America and the entire world into a one world government system. And the vehicle that they believe can be used to put us into this global government system is the global warming issue, now renamed to climate change because they found out there is no global warming. So they just simply, by sleight of hand, changed the name from global warming to climate change. I mean, it hasn't warmed in the last 17 years. And so the global warming thing has become laughable. Nevertheless, this cause is so important and they have so much invested in promoting it that now then they're using the media to harp away and to repeat over and over and over and over again that we actually are experiencing climate change and that it will destroy the world unless we save the world by the reduction of carbon emissions. Now, how would this lead into world government? Well, the theory is this. We all drink the same water, we all breathe the same air, and therefore, if you're going to have pure water and pure air, you've got to have international law to regulate the pollutants in air and pollutants in water. The only way you can do that is for some kind of a climate change agreement underneath the auspices of the international community, preferably under the United Nations. Now, if there is no climate change, then we've got a real problem here because now we don't have any reason to pass all these international laws. Let me make sure you understand what these laws are going to look like. Actually, they envision every human being on the planet having a carbon footprint, which means you emit so many carbon emissions per year. Now, what they want to do is give every person on the planet their own personal allotment. When they exceed that allotment, they will have to start paying for them. They actually will have to buy carbon credits. Now, they're already doing this in Europe, so this is not a pipe dream we're speaking of here. They're going to have to buy carbon credits, and they have to buy those from someone who has more than they need, which means they'll buy them from someone in a third world country that doesn't have industrialization, that are not emitting as many carbon emissions, and therefore, by the way, these carbon credits are not going to be cheap. This is one of the methods of producing wealth redistribution. The people who are pushing this all worship at the Marxist altar, and they believe that wealth redistribution is the way to bring about the ideal world of total equality between all peoples in the world. So they're envisioning this massive transfer of wealth from the have nations to the have not nations. So it's all the one world government Marxist vision that's driving this whole concept, that's driving President Obama to do what he is doing right now, and all the rest of the people that promote the fallacy of climate change. The bottom line is there is no global warming. We're going to show you that a little bit later on. But these myths have been promoted over and over until they've been promoted in the colleges, they've been promoted in the media, until if you don't believe in global warming, well, you're just an uneducated fool. Now, let me give you the rest of the article. Congress may try to stop us, but we believe that with the control of Congress changing hands, we can proceed with the authority we already have. So they're saying, look, Congress is going to fight us. The people of the United States of America don't believe in global warming. They're going to fight us. But what can you expect from normal people? They're basically uneducated and don't know what they should do anyway. I mean, that's the concept here. So we're going to do it in spite of what Congress says, in spite of what the people say. The article goes on to say the official added, this is really the crusade of a narrow group of people who are politically motivated and have made this a cause célèbre. But we believe we will be successful. And so they're saying the people who oppose our efforts for climate change, for global warming, they are politically motivated. But the truth of the matter is, the people promoting climate change and global warming are the ones that are politically motivated, because the truth of the matter is there is no global warming taking place. Now, that's not hard to believe because of the horrible Arctic winds that are sweeping across the United States of America right now. The administration hopes to sell the plan back home by touting the anticipated savings on energy costs. Consumers and businesses will save literally billions of dollars, a senior administration official said. When I read this, I couldn't help but laugh, because all of us have been told that when you move from our present sources of energy to other sources of energy, it's going to be much more expensive. There's going to be a big price to pay. And all of a sudden, the Obama administration is trying to sell the lie that this is going to save billions of dollars. It's going to cost billions of dollars. This is the first time anyone has had the audacity to just stand up and say, this is going to save you billions, when we know it's going to cost us billions. I mean, I think the same people are trying to sell us this that sold us Obamacare. Okay. Now, President Obama was in Asia attending the Asian Pacific Economic Cooperative Summit. This is where the nations of Asia get together. We're talking about China, Japan, and the United States of America is a member of APEC. We want to be there because there's a lot of trade that goes on there. So that's where all this was being said from the APEC summit, and that's where President Obama met with the leader of China. Okay, now I want to give you some more of this because I want you to get the real picture, and then I'm going to take you to what is supposed to be the world's foremost expert in sea level rise, and I want you to hear what he says about the rise of sea levels. Now, you're listening to Politics and Religion, and we're talking about this today because one world government is coming. We're very close to it right now. Okay, well, stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment.